I'm going to pack the front wheel bearings on this 1929 Model A Ford. And so I've got a few things to help me do the job. Some black gloves, rags, and bearing grease. I'm going to be using the Red Mechanic's Handbook by Les Andrews. This book has a nice lubrication chart that describes packing the front wheel bearings every 5,000 miles. So if you change your oil to a lube every 500, consider packing the wheel bearings every 10th time. Turns out that this chart actually comes from the original Model A instruction book that you got with your Ford back in 1929. So let's get started. I've pulled the wheel off, so now let's go down and pull the hub off. Pull the cotter pin out. Washer. Bearing. Hub. And then the rear bearing. So we pulled the hub off and got our two bearings here. And the first thing we want to check is just make sure that this race is good and tight. That should not spin. If that spins, you might consider getting another race. You can also get the green Loctite, make sure that that is in there good. The other thing you might want to check while you're in here is just the condition of the brake pads. So to pack these bearings, I'm going to go ahead and just put a glob right here. Take the bearing and force the grease into the bearing by pressing into the palm. You should be able to begin to see it come out the other end. See it come out the top, and then simply rotate, continue to do that, forcing it. You can see it come out the top. Now there's a bearing packer you can buy from the parts stores, but this is a simple, easy way to do it if you're not doing it that often. Dirty, but just as effective. So I'm going around the entire bearing, packing it all in. You can see it coming out. And that does it. And packing the smaller bearing. A little grease on the spindle. Rear bearing. Hub. Careful not to touch the hub. Front bearing. Washer. And the nut. So we'll tighten this down, and this hub could drag a little. But we're going to back it off 1 or 2 notches so that the cotter pin goes in. So we mounted the wheel. So we'd like to perform one last test, and that is to check the wheel bearing play. So to do that, I want to put a little wooden wedge right between the kingpin and the axle. Just tap that in. Take take away some of that play. Come back here and wiggle that wheel. Make sure that there's no front wheel bearing play. And that should be it. So, now on to the next wheel.